Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining CDTRP's Level Up webinar series. My name is Mary Bocage, CDTRP Patient, Family, and Donor Co-Lead for Team 1, and I will be facilitating today's webinar. And then Kenawea, Mary Bocage, Nishtikaz, Nishnabakweendo, Wabijashi Dodem, Nipissing First Nation, Devon Dagwas, Robinson Huron Treaty Dunjaba. I'm Anishinaabe Martin Clan, and my heart belongs to Nipissing First Nation in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory in Northeastern Ontario. I want to share my appreciation and respect to the elders and teachers in my community, past, present, and emerging. The CDTRP is hosted by the University of Alberta, which respectfully acknowledges that it is located on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional gathering place for diverse Indigenous people, including the Cree, Blackfoot, Métis, Nakota, Sioux, Iroquois, Dene, Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Anishinaabe, Inuit, and many others, whose histories, languages, and cultures continue to influence our vibrant community. We are honored to be guests on this land. I would also like to acknowledge all of the lands that you are all joining us from today. Since we are meeting virtually, please share what territory you are joining us from in the chat box. Today's webinar features Susan McKenzie, who will speak on the Transplant Ambassador Program's Patient Seeking Donors Program. Before I introduce Susan, we have a few housekeeping notes. Today's webinar is being recorded and posted on the CDTRP website and YouTube channel. We request that you turn your cameras off as well as your mics during the presentation. We will not upload the webinar's Q&A section and discussion portion. Once the presentation is complete, we ask you to turn your cameras on, and if you have any questions or comments, to ask our presenter directly. You may also add comments or questions in the chat or privately message CDTRP Q&A, who will then ask the questions on your behalf. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce Susan. I've had the pleasure of knowing Susan both professionally and personally for many years. She is an experienced communications and fundraising professional who has worked to advance a number of charities across Canada. In 2010, after a year on dialysis, she received a new kidney from her husband's sister, Marion. The fear and isolation of that experience planted the first seeds in her mind that much more needed to be done to help others with kidney disease. Two of Susan's 3 daughters have also been diagnosed with a rare genetic mutation, MUC1, which ultimately leads to kidney failure. When Susan's middle daughter needed a kidney transplant in 2017, helping her daughter try to navigate the healthcare system in search of a living donor further underscored the critical role of patients and donors stepping up to help each other through this very difficult time. Not being a person to step away from a challenge, Susan began working with fellow patients, kidney donors, and researchers to establish the Transplant Ambassador Program, or TAP, a volunteer-driven peer support program which has been helping kidney patients and donors navigate the transplant journey since 2017. Fun fact about Susan, she's very modest about her achievements, but I want to share that she won an Ontario Renal Network Human Touch Award in 2018 for her work with TAP. Even then, we knew it would change how patients and donors see themselves through the living donor transplant process. The annual award highlights some of the best work happening across the province. Award winners show the power of compassion and the human touch by making meaningful differences for patients and their families. Sue sure has done this with TAP. Today, TAP has over 150 ambassadors and has been launched in all 27 renal centers in Ontario. TAP recently launched additional innovative features to support patients and living donors, including a new ambassador directory and a first in Canada service, Patient Seeking Donors, which allows patients to post a profile on a safe and secure website to help them in their search for a living donor. Sue knows how to connect people, and her dedication to ensuring CKD patients have the best possible outcome is inspiring. With that, Susan, I pass it over to you.
Thank you, Mary, so much. You're very kind. I just want to thank CDTRP for inviting me to present today. Excited about sharing some of this information with you. And I also want to acknowledge my fellow TAP colleagues on the call, Mary as one, Marian Reach, who's also on the call, Peter Wexelman, Len Hodder, and Alex. So thank you guys for joining us. If someone else joined since I stopped looking, I'll recognize you at the end. But thank you so much for all of your efforts. I hope you can see my screen. Everybody, yeah, okay, great. So I'm just going to go through just a tiny little bit of background on TAP to give you context. I know there's a couple of people on the phone who have heard this, some of this presentation before. Hi, Robert. I know you were on a call at a meeting last week that I presented some of this information. But I just want to remind you a little bit about TAP. So we started in 2017. Really our mantra is, we know what you're going through because we've been there. We're all kidney donors or transplant recipients who are currently living with a successful transplant, either living or deceased. And our goal is to connect with patients all through the kidney journey, from pre-dialysis, early diagnosis, all the way to transplant, and even support after that. We've done a lot of after transplant support as well. We started out in the clinics, so this is from a couple of years ago. Our Franz and Claudia from Sunnybrook still very much involved in the program, of course, now doing their work virtually. We are part of the AKT strategy, which again, Access to Kidney Transplant Ontario strategy. So that is also one of the ways that we are embedded into the 27 renal programs. We launched in 13 of them in 2017, and then in the other 14 just this year. So it's been a big growth year for us. Wanted to just talk a little bit about how we hope that we're making a difference, and a little bit about the core essentials of our program is that all of our TAP ambassadors go through vulnerable sector police checks. They're all trained and onboarded both by TAP, but also by one of the renal centers in Ontario. So they are bona fide volunteers, hospital volunteers with badges and parking and all of that kind of stuff. We also follow some pretty strict privacy and confidentiality protocols that I think our ambassadors really respect and our patients really appreciate. We also really work hard to measure our impacts, to understand how many conversations we're having, what some of the barriers are that patients are identifying for us, and are we actually increasing transplant rates? So we can get a sense of that obviously through the AKT strategy, and if we're having a large number of conversations at centers where transplant rates are increasing, that's one good sign. We do connect across the province with ambassadors to whom they can, we connect donors and recipients with ambassadors who are most like them. I'll talk just about that in a second. All of our ambassadors receive secure TAP emails and use our TAP server for all of their TAP correspondence. And, we really work to build ongoing relationships with everyone we talk to, and also to connect them to other people in the program with whom they can relate. A lot of times a person is connected with a recipient, a patient's connected with a recipient, but then we may further connect them and their potential donor with a donor. So, that's really TAP at its best when we can make those further connections. And I think most exciting of all, we're an independent patient-led program run, 100% on the passion and energy of patients and donors who want to give back. So just a couple of quick stats. Mary mentioned a couple of these, but we've logged over 5,000 interactions with non-identifying information on our secure portal since 2017. She talked about our 150 ambassadors. What you may not know is that half of them are living donors and half of them are patients. We speak 20 languages amongst ourselves. There's a lot more languages than that in the world, and so we're always looking at bringing on more ambassadors who can speak other languages. We are currently in 27 renal centers and in discussions about a pilot outside of Ontario. And in 2020, we launched Virtual Tap, which was great for us. It's kind of one of those things about the pandemic that, you know, respond to a negative situation with something positive. And our virtual program and the Zoom calls and the phone calls have been, you know, really an incredible augmentation of the program, and something that we will continue to keep long after we go back into the clinics. This is just a quick look at all of the languages that are reflected by our team. And when we do connect people, we do work really hard to connect them by gender, age, hospital, kidney experience. Are they preemptive? Are they, you know, are they on hemodialysis? Do they have a living donor? All of those kinds of things. And by the way, kidney experience seems to be the main thing people want to be connected on, as well as background. And of course, languages. Language is probably the number one thing, and then kidney experience. So, you know, in our efforts to connect people with the right person, we did launch just last year, actually, this a new ambassador directory that, you know, that hosts all of our 150 ambassadors, many of them with videos, short videos that tell a little bit about their story. But you can click on any one of these, you know, tiles or multiple tiles, and it will bring up for you, you know, someone who's a kidney transplant recipient who's been in paired donor exchange, for example. Then you can reach out to them directly through their Transplant Ambassador email and set up a time to chat. And that's starting to happen more and more, actually. And you know who you're reaching out to because you've read their story and you've probably watched their video. Okay, I'm gonna try to do this live to walk you through it. I have these slides as a backup, but I'm gonna just try to actually walk you through our website. So just give me 1 second here. Hopefully my bandwidth will work with me. I'm gonna turn off my video just in case I have challenges. So this is our Transplant Ambassador website live. This is our homepage. It's at www.transplantambassadors.ca. The top left corner is where you'll find our patients seeking donors. This is the the ambassador directory I just talked about here in the top right. But I'm going to show you our patient seeking donors platform, which is our newest offering that we just launched probably about 2 months ago now. And we're super excited about it and about the traction that it's receiving. So I'm just going to go into that. And this is what you'll find when you go into that information, into that site. You'll find a list of roughly 40 people who have already put up their profiles and several that are kind of in the midst of, you know, in various stages of completion. And you can click into any of those. But before I do that, I just want to show you that you can, if you're a donor going to this site, there's lots more information for you about the paired donor exchange program, you know, list of transplant hospitals, all of that kind of stuff, so that, you know, obviously people can be as informed as possible before they connect directly with someone. And because we do list people's blood type on there, we felt it was really important to let people know that, to let donors know, even if you're not the same blood type, you can donate through the paired donor exchange program. So this is how you would create your own profile. I'll go back to that in just a second. So if we want to look at any of these profiles, go into Cynthia's profile here. And Cynthia is, she's in red there, as you can see. Cynthia has chosen to use one of our Transplant Ambassador emails. So, you know, when we developed this site, we wanted it to be as safe and secure, and for our patients to feel as safe and secure as possible. So we offer to create an ambassador email for them through our email platform. I would say 75% of the people on our site choose to select that option for us to create this email for them, which is then forwarded to their personal email. And then there's less, you know, personal information out there that they have to worry about But they can post their own email here if they choose. They can post their phone number here if they choose. It's totally up to them to decide how they want to do that. We do also identify where they're being worked up and the living donor contact at that transplant center. And the other really neat thing about this is that here up, as you can see, I've just highlighted the this URL. So that's Cynthia's personal URL that she can now send out to her her networks, her family, her friends, her work colleagues, her old high school friends, whatever she wants to do, and it would take them directly to her page. And several people have had some traction just using this as a, using this as a place where they can refer people to and where people can find out more about their story. I'm just going to go back to the main platform here. So if someone goes on here and kind of looks at other people's profiles and thinks, gee, I think I could do that. Again, because this is our secure website, once somebody's profile is taken down, it's no longer there. You won't find it. It won't be out there in social media forever. It's just here for as long as they want it here. We can modify it at any time. If a person wants to create the profile, they would just go in here. Some people, we walk through it, but it's pretty simple. They just provide us with basic information. Some of it we keep on the back end. It's not all shown up front. And obviously the most important part is what they want to tell people about themselves. They can put a video here. They can link their social media accounts, all of that kind of stuff, easy to do. Obviously then they're consenting here that they're over the age of 18 and all of that kind of stuff. So all that consent happens right here on the form. And it gets sent to us on the back end. We just send them a draft of what it's going to look like that they approve, and then it's posted live. So that can all happen like literally, within an hour, if people are quick to respond. So it's really easy to set up. And that is the end of that. So just go back quickly to my slides here. And so I don't have to show you this because I just showed you in real life how that works. In terms of early results, as I mentioned, we do have over 40 profiles currently showing. They are Canada-wide. I would say, roughly 60% of them are in Ontario, and then about 40% are from outside of Ontario. And we don't know all of the people who've made connections through our site, but we do know of 3 potential matches just because of dialogue that we've been involved in terms of connecting people. So we're pretty excited about that kind of traction in the first couple of months. And then just because I have the opportunity to share, we do have a couple of upcoming webinars happening in the fall, where we'll be showcasing our kidney transplant recipients and donors who were over 60 at the time of transplant. It's something we get a lot of questions about. And then later in November, the Big Tell, which is a kind of an encore presentation that the renal centers have asked us to do. It's really about helping people to share their story, as opposed to asking someone to donate their kidney, but sharing their story and sharing where they're at, and providing with tools to do that. We've also been working with Rogers TV on a documentary, a 1-hour documentary that will air across Ontario in the fall. We're also working on some new technology so that our referrals and reporting can be done through a mobile app. We're excited about that opportunity. And we are starting to go back into clinics. I did mention to you that this is Len, who's on the phone. It's a great picture of Len back at UHN in the hospital. I think we have about 10 ambassadors who are currently kind of decided to go back into clinic. Most of them are donors, I think with the exception of 1 or 2 who feel comfortable meeting people in person. But that is starting more and more to happen. And this is just, all of our other social media platforms. So that is the end of my presentation. I can give it back to you, Manuel, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments, or if any of my TAP colleagues want to